And welcome to episode 4 of Robert's Butchered Paraphrase. Y'all, please excuse me for missing last week. I had a cold and didn't think it would sound really good with me trying to hack and cough and sneeze my way through this. This week, we're going to pick up on the continuing theme of love, and we're going to switch in here to John chapter 13, verses 34 and 35. Again, I'm going to read from the easy to read version. These are Jesus' words. I give you a new command: love each other. You must love each other just as I loved you. All people will know that you are my followers if you love each other. When we speak of this, most often the first thing we think about is his death on the cross, showing his love for us, and then he laid down his life for a friend and for a brother. Notice here that it says we will be known as his disciples by our love for each other. Not how many bumper stickers we have on our car, or how many Christian t-shirts we wear, or how many events we attend, or how many conferences we go to, or how well we even dress for church. It says by our love for each other. To give an example of that, Christ's love over his 30-something years of life here on this earth, he left heaven. He left perfection to come be with us. Then he grew up as a small and vulnerable child. His parents had to flee to Egypt somewhere around the age of 2 to keep Herod from killing him. When he did come back, he started his age around he started he started his ministry around the age of 30 or so. Up until then, he was a carpenter, and not as a carpenter swinging a 20-ounce S-swing building houses. No, he built ox yokes, furniture, stuff like that. Got splinters in his hands, probably. Then, through his 3 years of ministry, he started out with who knows how many disciples. And as he continued along and he said difficult things to them, the first time he sent out 120 and they came back, and the second time he sent out 70 because several of them left, and then he was finally down to 12 and one of them betrayed him. But during this whole time, he loved them anyway. He knew they weren't perfect. He didn't kick them to the curb when they said stupid stuff. He did rebuke Peter once when he said, "Get behind me, Satan." Peter really didn't know what he was talking about. He knew that they misunderstood his whole purpose until his resurrection. It, he kept dealing with them, and he kept loving them, and he kept putting up with their imperfections. And in this day and time, when we see somebody with an imperfection going to church, we holler hypocrite, which sometimes they are, and other times we just kick them to the curb. How dare they mess up? How dare they be human? They've been going to this church for so many years. They should be perfect. They should walk perfectly. Yet none of us do. And we look for that. He got down on his knees and he washed these imperfect people's feet. How many of us would be willing to do that? How many of us would be willing to hang on to people and try to disciple them knowing that they weren't completely getting it? How many of us would hang on and try to disciple a person we knew would betray us? These are the things that we need to ask, the kind of love that Jesus had for us. In another place again, he said, no greater love has one than he laid down his life for his brother. We don't lay down our lives for our brothers. We give of what's convenient. We don't have preference for our brothers. We don't sacrifice for our brothers or sisters. A lot of times we just look and we judge. We don't offer help. We don't ask what's going on, what happened. We just can't have you here. We don't want your kind. We've been taught to judge in the condemning way, and yet we don't want to judge in the way of knowing a tree by its fruits. We will condemn somebody quickly, especially somebody else in the congregation who makes a mistake or is reported to have made a mistake. Yet we won't look at the fruit of somebody's life and say, wow, that's not of the Spirit of God. Their mouth says something and their actions do one thing, but we're going to believe what their mouth says. Christ did lay down his life for us, both while he was here and on the cross. And in loving one another, we're supposed to be a very tight-knit community. You go back and read the first few chapters of Acts, and it talks about how some people sold properties and brought the money to the disciples' feet so that all in the community, none of them would have need. Now, it doesn't say they all got new Cadillacs. It said none of them have need. So they all had food, shelter, and their basics. But it also says, man doesn't work, don't let him eat. That's in one of the epistles. But why don't we look out for one another? Why is it so much my four and no more? What are we afraid of? Are we afraid of being used? Christ was used. He allowed himself to be used. He allowed himself to be led to the cross. Wasn't exactly his idea of fun either. When he prayed in the garden, he asked if there was any way possible, let this cup pass from him. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours. How many times have we prayed, nevertheless, not your will, but mine? I don't want to do it your way. It'll cost me something. If I love them, it could cost me something. I could lose something. I could be made uncomfortable. Jesus was made uncomfortable. He left heaven and for 3 years of his ministry was basically homeless. Yes, he was walking his own creation, but how much would you be willing to give up for your brothers and sisters? Do you even consider them your brothers and sisters? You look at the signs of the times, and you compare them to what the scriptures say. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's starting, but I got a sneaking suspicion it is. You read what the book says, in the last days, people get stupid, and there seems to be a lot more stupid than there used to be. People calling what is evil good and what's good evil, politically, morally, ethically. Things are being accepted now that just 20 years ago would be unheard of. What is the only thing that's going to survive all this? Loving one another to the point of sacrifice. Because people fall usually due to isolation. They have no one they feel they can trust, no one they feel won't judge them, no one they feel won't broadcast their issues to the whole church or to the whole world. And when that happens, they become isolated. They fall. Sin gets committed. Think about loving your brothers and sisters as he loved us. See how you can put that in practice in your life today. The Lord bless you and keep you.